Evening, folks. Well, do you know what? Sometimes I don't know why I do this, but I keep looking at stuff and it's really, really worrying me. And there's something I just needed to share with you. And I mean, make of it what you will. I know some of you will kind of take it on board. Maybe others of you won't. I just feel that I need to explain something that I came across today. And we've seen a lot of stuff about how our freedom of speech is being taken away. And a lot of stuff I've done posts about already. I don't care anymore whether people think I'm a conspiracy theorist. I don't even know what that means anymore. But the point is that, for example, some of the things that I have accessed on Facebook for many, many, many years, they have been, in the last couple of weeks, they've just been taken down. Their accounts have been closed. Now it's like, hold on a minute, because these accounts, particular things like the truth about cancer, for example, collective evolution, which is a very kind of science-based and very up-to-date, very informative website, and Green Med Info, which I have gone to on so many occasions to try and find out complementary medicines and things about herbs and so many things that you do not get in the mainstream medical journalism. So these things to me have been really, really important. And then this morning, I've already now transferred to Telegram, which at the moment at least isn't being censored like some of the other platforms. And the guy on Green Med Info put a link to a report on there about how Facebook is now under review by something called, NewsGuard. So I had a look at this report, and now I've been saying, all along about the fact that, isn't it terrible that Facebook is doing this to these sites and closing them down and all of this stuff. What I now know is that NewsGuard, who set themselves up as being the kind of gold standard for news around the world, are kind of self-appointed journalists. And this report that they've put out are now saying that they're going to come at Facebook because apparently only 16% of what they consider to be fake news, only 16% has received warnings on Facebook. So that means that 84% of the stuff, in other words, the stuff that doesn't agree with the mainstream, is getting through the net. How awful is that? So they're actually going for Facebook, saying that they've got to do better. So it's actually not Facebook that is causing the problem. It's actually higher than that. So then I thought, well, just look at, what is NewsGuard? I've never actually heard of them. I suppose I should have done. Because apparently a lot of their they're linked to over 700 different libraries, public libraries around the world, and a lot of mainstream media organisations get their information through NewsGuard. So what NewsGuard do is they will issue points based on their own criteria for each of these websites that they monitor. Now, unfortunately, they've basically hammered a lot of the websites that I have enjoyed for at least 10 years. And these are things to do with alternative health ideas. You know, things that I feel that should be out there. Even if people don't believe in everything that they say, they should at least be able to access the information that they're putting out, at least as an alternative to the the information that's being put out by the medical establishment. At least that way you get like a balanced view of everything. But no, so what they do is, or what they have been doing is, they've been awarding like a colour coding to these various sites, and at the same time issuing a certain number of points, as I say, based on their own criteria, and they'll allocate to each of these sites, and then people can use NewsGuard to assess whether they actually want to look at a particular site or not, based on whether it's likely to be true or not. I mean, who are they to say whether it's true or not? But a lot of big organisations are using them so that they can get the facts. It's totally incredible. So I thought, well, we'll do a little bit of digging. So what do I find? So NewsGuard, believe it or not, is sponsored very largely by Big Pharma. So all of the big pharmaceutical companies are putting money into NewsGuard, and that's where they're getting their money to actually operate. So as well as using some algorithms, they then use a team of journalists who will look at various articles, and they reckon that they're going to look at least 7,500 different websites, which are the ones that people use the most. They're looking at like 98% of all the views and things that people share across social media. So essentially what they're doing is you've got us. So this is you and me down here. We're looking for alternatives to what is actually going on right now. We're looking for health strategies that are going to help with our immune system, for example. So we look for those answers, and we look for different viewpoints. And we look for different viewpoints from the very websites that are being closed down by social media like Facebook and so on. But the social media platforms like Facebook are being clamped down on by NewsGuard, and they're being told that they've got to do better. So it's not even Facebook that's the problem. So then NewsGuard, using their own criteria, are then going to affect how things come up in a search result, say on Google and all of the other search engines. Not all of them, I have to say. So if you do a search on Google or on YouTube or on Facebook or Twitter, because of the way that this has been designed, a lot of the websites that you want to look at will not come up. They won't come up in a search result, or they come really low down because they've got such a bad score because they don't tell the truth. And at the same time, it's like these people who are operating NewsGuard, they have no transparency whatsoever as far as, how they developed this criteria. And at the same time, they're being sponsored by some of the biggest pharmaceutical corporations in the world, who have millions and millions and millions of dollars at their disposal. So they are actually influencing what is coming down the line, all the way down to us. And if we're not careful, what is going to happen is we'll have one view of things. Just one view. That's what they want. These big pharmaceutical companies do not want any dialogue going on that relates to the V word. I daren't say it, but you know what I mean. And prescription drugs or anything that goes against what they are about, and they are huge, they are so influential, they have lobbied for policies for hundreds of years, and they are now affecting what we are able to actually see on social media platforms, in search engines or anything like that. So they are affecting the dialogue that we are allowed to see. And if you get that, you will see how corrupt the whole system is, because it is extremely corrupt. You know, a lot of you know that the kind of research that I have done over the last few months, I don't give a shit about me, but what about my kids? What about my grandchildren? They're the ones that I worry about. You know, and what gets me too is the fact that it seems very, very few percentage of people are willing to actually sit down in the evening and rather put on the TV to actually do some research and look at whether what I'm saying is true. That's really, really upsetting. But that is what's going on. Okay? So, as you can see from this, you end up with a situation where we go all the way around the loop. So, you know, we're going to be subjected to all of this news about the V word, which, of course, none of us knows whether it's going to be safe anyway. I don't know whether you know this, but on the 28th of August, the government brought out a paper, which is like a proposal, and they're asking for comments on it, but those comments have got to be back by the 18th of September. So they haven't given us long. Now the point is, who knows about that? Was it advertised? Of course it wasn't, because the mainstream media do not want you to know about it. Because if you don't know about it, you can't comment on it. But here's the first thing, there's 5 different areas that they're asking people to comment on. The first one is that the government are proposing that we accept unlicensed vaccines. Unlicensed vaccines. Now, what they're saying is unlicensed doesn't mean untested. But what it does mean is that those vaccines have not gone through the whole process of testing and approval. And we're being asked to accept that as if that's the right thing to do. The second thing is that there will be no liability on the part of the manufacturers of those vaccines or the medical practitioners who administer them. So if you end up with a bad reaction to whatever they're going to put in these bloody vaccines, tough shit. I'm sorry for swearing, but I feel so blooming passionate about this. It just should not be happening. And the point is, imagine we've got unlicensed vaccines, we've got people who, the manufacturers who are set to make trillions of dollars out of this stuff, but they will not have any kind of liability if anyone is damaged by them. And neither will any of the medical practitioners who are poking the damn things into you. It's just crazy. Absolutely crazy. The third thing on that list of 5 things is that because they want to administer more flu vaccines this year, and I would be very wary of taking those as well, I have to say, they want staff that have not been necessarily given the full training, because, you know, people who administer vaccines need certain training. So we're being asked to accept that people who have not been fully trained can administer a vaccine instead, because they want to get so many people vaccinated, because they're worried about this second wave. I mean, like I say, I just don't know why I do it. Well, I do know why I do it. I do it because I love the people around me, and I hate the thought that, you know, the youngsters that we're bringing up right now, I mean, God, they've got enough to cope with going to school at the moment, let alone anything else. You know, I mean, this stuff is happening. You know, you just need to do your research. And let's just hope it goes the right way, folks. But it's going to be up to us. It's going to be up to us, the people, to stand together and to understand what the heck is going on here. Because it seems to me that so many aren't even prepared to contemplate the thought. But we can't bury our head in the sand anymore. It's too late for that. Either we do it now, or we're going to end up in a world that none of us wants. And that's the truth of it.